This video is going to show you the skills needed to safely launch and recover a skiff. We'll run through the various launching scenarios and discuss the challenges and solutions. With tall, powerful rigs and lightweight hulls, a skiff lacks stability at slow speeds. And certainly, the most challenging parts of skiff sailing are the large changes in direction. Add in the fact you'll often have limited steerage with the board and rudder up, plus the threat of a runaway boat hitting the bottom. It's really no surprise that launching and recovery can seem quite daunting for a club level skiff sailor. In fact, it's often the challenge of getting on or off the water that stops many skiff teams sailing. So before we go through the on the water skiff basics, we must look at getting on the water itself. In this video, we're going to go through each wind direction scenario and cover some valuable tips to see you on and off the water safely. Before we get going, a shout out to our sponsor, Lennon Racewear. If you find this video helpful, then you can support the project by checking out their excellent kit, the links in the description. First we'll discuss the best wind direction to launch and recover in. This is when the wind is blowing parallel to the shore. This direction allows the sailors to sail away from the beach on the most controllable point of sail, which is just below close hauled. At this angle to the wind, you only need a small bear off to power up and sail away from the shallow waters. But you also can feather up into the wind to slow yourself without the fear of hitting the bottom. Yet, you can still make things a little bit easier for yourself by following some simple points. First of all, release all control lines and uncleat the sheets before launching. Hold the boat on the shallow side, forward of the mast, with one hand on the widest point of the boat. This keeps the boat pointing into wind, but also gives the maximum leverage for the person holding the boat to keep it flat. First, put down as much board as you possibly can, and preferably get the rudder all the way down. Make sure the centreboard is clear of the kicker if you have one. The person holding the boat may need to walk the boat quite deep, so just suck it up, you're sailing a skiff and you're going to get wet. Jump in on the windward side whilst heeling to windward, sheet on with a jib and sail away from the shore. Returning to shore, untie both boards and rudder. Release the control lines to stop the mainsail powering up unexpectedly. Approach the beach just below close hauled, feathering up into the wind to regulate your speed. Slow right down before jumping out. You want the first person to exit the boat to be able to disembark gracefully and immediately hold the boat forward of the mast. Finally, raise the plates and retrieve your boat to the trolley. Okay, next we're going to look at the more difficult launching and recovery scenarios. But before we get into that, please give this video a like if you find the content useful. Okay, my first tip for difficult wind directions is just to avoid them wherever possible. Many launching areas are curved. Wheel your boat on the trolley to a more suitable spot to launch. However, for some beaches, it's not always possible to avoid these launching directions. So here are some tips to help you with the more challenging wind scenarios. First, let's talk about an onshore breeze, as this presents challenging for both launching and recovering the boat. The worry with launching is not being able to make it upwind and progress efficiently off the beach and being pushed back with wind and waves onto the shore. To make life a little easier, first assess which tack takes you away from the shore in the easiest fashion. You want to line up on this tack whilst holding the boat off the trolley. Launching into the wind, you won't have an obvious shallow side to the boat, so the person holding it may have to stand quite deep. The perhaps you won't be able to get enough board in. To counteract these problems, once the board and rudder are down sufficiently enough, start by gently sheeting on the jib. At this stage, do not panic and sheet on too quickly, too soon. With limited steerage, this could end up with a boat in irons. Sheet the jib on first and then bring the main slowly in, keeping the boat nice and flat. Returning to Elude shore is challenging in all but the tamest of conditions. To reach the recovery site, you must first sail downwind without the kite. This can be quite tippy in a boat designed to carry a spinnaker. But going downwind even without the kite, you will still be carrying more speed than is safe really to approach the beach with. Therefore, you'll have to make a sudden rounding up manoeuvre to come to a stop. However, such a manoeuvre takes you back up through the power zone and accelerates you. I think it's always best to drop the mainsail about 50 metres to windward of the beach and sailing directly downwind on just the jib. When sailing on just the jib alone, it's depowered enough in almost all conditions that you can sail directly at the beach. Without having to make any violent changes in direction, you can lift the board as you approach the correct depth. Make sure the main halyard is detangled before you start to drop. Getting stuck with the main halfway up can be a real pickle. Also make sure you're directly upwind of where you plan to recover the boat, as once you've dropped that main, you will be sailing on the jib alone and it will become very difficult to change direction. The final direction is an offshore breeze. Here, the main difficulty is being able to pull a sharp bear away manoeuvre starting from a low speed and when you've not got your full board down. The risk here is that if your rudder stalls out during the bear away, the boat will just simply head up into wind and be taking you back towards the shore. The best practice is to drift backwards off the shore until you can get the rudder completely down. Then, to initiate the low speed bear away, give both sails maximum ease and use lots of windward heel. If you are feeling confident, you can use the moment when the crew jumps in on the windward side, putting their weight on the trapeze line to tip the boat to windward and bear you off. Returning to a windward shore is relatively simple. Again, you can head up into wind to moderate your speed. But one thing to note in sailing an offshore breeze is that if anything goes wrong, you're not going to drift back to the beach. So be careful launching in these conditions.
Okay, little recap. Ease all your control lines, ease all the sails, sail in and away from the beach on the jib alone, dropping the main if it's a leeward shore. Hold the boat on the windward side at the widest point, a hand on the rack, a hand on the gunwale forward of the mast. Get in and out on the windward side of the boat and drop as much falls as possible before leaving the shore. I hope it's been useful for you. Hope it helps you recover and launch your skiff with a bit more confidence. Thanks as always to our sponsor Lennon Racewear, and the next video is going to be on our kit bag, so look forward to getting that out to you in the next few weeks. Take care, happy sailing, see you around.